What's up guys, welcome back. This is anime fiction. You'll be watching What If Naruto Was Killed by an Anbu, Becoming a Hollow Part 15. Now, let's begin. What is going on, Naruto? What was the reasoning behind that action? The atmosphere was charged with intensity as Mila Rose fixed her sharp gaze on Naruto, her expression marked by an unusual frown. His offense was the trimming of his magnificent yellow hair. The new slicked-back hairstyle enhanced his overall appearance with a refined touch. The individual who observed him in Hueco Mundo as a hollow would have readily recognized him by his distinctive hairstyle. He needed to diversify his approach. His new hairstyle unexpectedly prompted a strong reaction from Mila Rose, leaving him somewhat perplexed. Apache expressed her discontent with a dismissive roll of her eyes and a sharp exhale. "What is the reason for your outburst? He appears significantly improved. I can now see his face clearly without any obstruction from his hair." Mila Rose typically exhibited assertiveness and a fearless demeanor. At this moment, she appeared quite flustered. Her lips parted as if to respond, but all she could muster was a whisper. His appearance was more favorable previously. Sung Sun approached with a keen interest, eyes sparkling at the prospect of engaging Mila Rose in playful banter. "I believe I comprehend," she stated with a smooth tone. "My husband's former hairstyle was reminiscent of a lion's mane, and it is well understood that Rose embodies the qualities of a lioness." "Indeed, I appreciated his prior hairstyle," Mila Rose admitted, "due to its significantly enhanced appearance. It is merely hair." Naruto extended his hand and gently caressed Mila Rose's dark hair. "They will regenerate." The gentle touch and the slight smile in his eyes achieved the intended outcome. Her cheeks took on a delicate rose hue. "I trust you will refrain from making any further cuts without informing me first." He allowed his fingers to remain on her scalp for a brief moment before withdrawing his hand. "You now possess the rights to my hair. Are you satisfied?" With a gentle chuckle, she pulled him down beside her on the comfortable couch. "You have dedicated ample time to Apache. It is now my opportunity." Sung Sun discreetly approached and settled beside him, resting her head in his lap. "He has the ability to indulge us both. It allows him to allocate time to spend with our Queen Haribel. That is acceptable to me." The aggressor and the victim addressed their conflicts when they were in his presence. "He is thoroughly pleased with their relationship." Apache observed Naruto's bright smile while he was in the company of her friends. A profound warmth enveloped her. "I will retrieve the groceries then. Naruto, is there something you would like?" Naruto observed the brief yet gentle expression that momentarily appeared on Apache's face. This time, she truly experienced happiness for him, rather than envy. "I would like some dango," he requested, the mere mention of the treat causing his eyes to brighten with anticipation. "Additionally, a considerable amount of sake. Are you interested in consuming alcohol?" "Indeed." Apache's lips formed a gentle smile as she deftly twirled her keys around her finger, pivoting elegantly on her heel. "Understood. Are we partaking in beverages this evening? Who is the fortunate individual accompanying you? What are your thoughts, everyone? An event of intimate gathering. I will observe from the sidelines then." "Timid," Nami remarked with a light-hearted laugh. "The Demon Empress is not a coward, she is merely a shy maiden in love. I have a concept to explore Apache's aspect of death. Design her attire to resemble that of a nun. Allow her to admire you and the ground you tread upon. Assume the role of her deity. That amount is excessive. I will not diminish her value in order to elevate her influence." While he appreciated the idea of a nun cosplay, he would never impose on Apache to participate in anything she did not want to do. He advocated for his own liberation and held the conviction that his partners merit nothing short of the same. "You can then assign her the role of your maid. Instruct her in the principles of a dedicated maid. I will evaluate the situation." He gently prompted Sung Sun. "I am unable to locate Tyr. I took the child outside with Lisa," Mila Rose remarked with a playful smile. "You have been succeeded by a young girl. If you wish to express your emotions, you are welcome to lean on my support. May I request the use of your chest?" "I don't perceive any issues with that," she remarked with a light laugh. "Please be assured that Haribel-sama will never take your place. She has a deep affection for you." Sung Sun positioned his hands to apply pressure to her breasts. You haven't committed to her yet. You are welcome to utilize my royal pair to mend your broken heart. Please disregard my presence. Mila Rose observed intently as Naruto engaged in playful banter with Sung Sun. While she regarded Naruto as the embodiment of the qualities she esteemed, strength, protection, and courage, an elusive barrier restrained her, hindering her from completely embracing her fervor. All she could hear was the constant murmur of her instincts, cautioning her that a successful outcome with Naruto was unlikely. He promptly ceased his playful behavior and focused his attention on her. Rose, as I mentioned previously, it is not necessary for you to keep your troubles and anxieties to yourself. We are available to hear your concerns. It's nothing, she replied, skillfully sidestepping the depth of her emotions while adjusting the remote control. What would you like to watch? I welcome any suggestions you may have. Mila Rose navigated through the channels, seeking something engaging, yet all she encountered was a landscape of mediocrity. It lacks engagement. Husband, please come to my room. We will review the manga featuring mature female characters that I borrowed from Lisa. Lisa had guided her into a complex situation, and now Sung Sun sought to involve him as well. Regrettably for them, he had already surpassed both of them in terms of his shortcomings. They are unable to match the prowess of the Lords of Degeneracy. Mila Rose cast a sharp look at Sung Sun. What is the reason for your constant state of arousal? You are the unusual one who does not feel attraction around your spouse. Sung Sun responded with a playful laugh. Dear husband, let us create some cherished memories in our home. No, he will remain here. The snake and lioness engaged in a physical contest, each pulling at his arms in a clear display of competition. He was pulled in opposing directions, both parties growling as they contested for him as if he were an object of play. Ladies, he instructed, his voice lowering to a chilling tone that cut through their intense confrontation. Please cease this behavior immediately. Sung Sun acquiesced with a resigned sigh. I acknowledge your point. Snakes are not designed to prevail over gorillas in terms of raw strength. Mila Rose embraced his arm with a sense of pride and playfully stuck out her tongue, her expression reflecting a moment of triumphant delight. Unsuccessful. Sung Sun leaned in, her lips gently grazing his cheek as she quietly communicated her next strategy. Your goal now is to ensure that she recognizes you as her partner. Achieve success or forego threesomes entirely. I accept the challenge. Forfeiting the enjoyment of a threesome, particularly with the alluring Sung Sun, was simply not a consideration. Following the previous event in Hueco Mundo, he was fully assured in his ability to gain Mila Rose's acceptance. Embrace the challenge, O Prince of Hollows. As Sung Sun departed, Naruto fixed his gaze upon Mila Rose's eyes. Rose, do you recall our conversation on the Ferris wheel? It has been quite some time. The uncertainty in her response indicated that she was not being truthful. Her behavior was quite unexpected, as she typically exhibited a direct and assertive demeanor. She had no need to be dishonest, as she had previously turned down his advances. He needed to determine the reason behind her indecisiveness, or he would remain indefinitely in the close friend category. I will provide a reminder. You mentioned that you would accept me as your mate if I returned safely. I have completed that task on 2 occasions now. I indicated that I would take the idea into consideration. Mila Rose responded swiftly, rising from the plush couch with the poised intensity of a lioness prepared to strike. Her gaze, imbued with a complex array of emotions, met his. I would like to be in your company. I believe it may not be feasible for us to continue together. The more she contemplated her complex emotions, the more intense the knot in her stomach grew. Her anxieties escalated to a critical level, prompting her to strike the table with her fist, resulting in its complete destruction. She settled onto the couch, her head pounding and her breath uneven. I find myself lacking clarity. Skull, I appreciate you, but I am troubled by the persistent concern that I may not be able to bring you the happiness you deserve. What is the reason for my feelings? He was unable to address her confusion until he remembered Sung Sun's remarks regarding Mila Rose's character. Among all the hollows present, Mila Rose distinctly embraced her primal instincts, deriving true pleasure from pursuits like hunting and relaxing in a leisurely manner. He needed to change his viewpoint and embrace the mentality of a lion to assist her. Skull, please provide a response. Is my intuition accurate? Am I perhaps overanalyzing the situation? I am experiencing a significant level of confusion. Upon encountering her vulnerable demeanor, he adopted a serious expression. You have a valid point, Rose. However, your perspective is not completely accurate, either. Your assistance is not beneficial, Skull. He let out a soft laugh. Do you enjoy hunting? She nodded with a hint of curiosity, remaining uncertain about the reason he mentioned her hobby. I appreciate it. Would you be interested in assisting me with a hunt? Her eyes opened wide. What is your basis for that knowledge? What you are experiencing is a conflict between your emotions and your instincts. Feelings and intuitions. I am unclear about this matter. Could you please explain it to me in a straightforward manner? She can be somewhat stubborn. He cleared his throat with a deliberate gesture. You are a lioness, correct? Certainly. My Zanpakuto is referred to as the lioness general. What is the role of a lioness within a lion's pride? Pride, similar to a pride of lions that includes a harem of lionesses. What are their responsibilities? Originating from Hueco Mundo, she was not equipped with fundamental knowledge about animals, which is the primary cause of her present confusion. A lioness seeks sustenance for her pride. Understood. What relevance does that hold for us? It is entirely relevant to our situation, he stated, shaking his head. You regard me as a colleague, the leader of our group. Your inclination is to consistently seek me out and offer me nourishment. However, upon acquiring the mansion and attaining wealth, you seem to lose your sense of purpose. He was an ideal partner with one shortcoming, his independence, which caused her to diminish her self-esteem as a lioness. Her depression was closely connected to her instincts. With her mate out of reach, she found herself lacking motivation and spent her days idly lounging around. When faced with Apache, she made an effort to demonstrate her value by pursuing Grimjow and his team on his behalf. Unfortunately, it did not suffice to resolve her confidence issues. A look of gradual understanding emerged on her face, as if she were assembling an intricate puzzle. The significance of this revelation weighed heavily upon her. Mother, I am not contributing to your sense of pride. He gently took her hand, brought it to his lips, and kissed her knuckles. That would be true if we were beasts living in a forest. Remember that we are Arankars, a combination of Shinigami and Hollow. We don't need to follow our animalistic tendencies. She lifted her eyebrows. Are you saying I can be a good friend without looking for you? Exactly. Aside from hunting, there are many more ways you can be a good wife. She smiled as he complimented being a nice wife. You glib-tongued pervert, you're suggesting sex. He grinned, clearing his throat as if to dismiss her remark. Sex is just one of those things. She laughed at his naive gesture and moved to straddle his lap. Okay, Skull, let's give this a go. I, Snake, Apache, Harabel-sama, and you are part of a pride. He had transformed her entire outlook on every male in the world and solved the problem that had been causing her to suffer from depression for several months. He was the most trustworthy man in her opinion, with Harabel coming in second. How about Chiruchi? She will not be in the pride. Cough, cough. A sequence of fictitious coughs drew them out of their secluded world. Chiruchi was leaning on the banister of the stairway above them, a smile on her face. Mila Rose gave her an unimpressed expression. Chiruchi, what will you say to my mate's proposal? Chiruchi shrugged with a carefree attitude. What I have always said. Family and friends are not for me. The audacity, Mila Rose mumbled, returning her focus to Naruto. What do you say about tying her up? Forget it, he said, leaning closer to her ear. Is she still depressed? Kind of. I don't always understand her. He shook his head, his expression becoming serious. It's better you don't understand her circumstances. Restoring her Zanpakuto would be easy, but restoring her heart would be challenging. Mila Rose leaned in to land a delicate kiss on his cheek, taking advantage of his moment of reflection. Naruto, let's go on a date. The brazen light in her eyes and the appeal in her voice were signals he couldn't reasonably miss given his expertise. And, quite frankly, he was more than willing to accept the hint. The wooden balcony extended only a dozen feet, with a large onsen beyond it. A broad valley spread out beyond the onsen, with mountains on either side gleaming in the sunset sun. As the sky began to fade into twilight, the atmosphere was drenched in a gentle blend of amber warmth and soft, pink hues. Even though Naruto had visited several onsens, he thought the vista was rather spectacular. "What a lovely view," his colleague agreed with him. He looked behind and saw Mila Rose clutching a towel to her magnificent chest. The white towel covered most of her body, leaving her long legs and hips exposed. However, everything in this moment was overshadowed by the wonder on her face. Eyes wide, a faint, increasing smile, a relaxed expression, and peaceful pleasure in her gaze. Her dazzling enjoyment made her completely captivating. "You're lovelier." Mila Rose, amused by his comment, extended her hand. "SK. Naruto, you're attractive, sexy, and strong mate wishes to hold hands with you. Handholding is lewd. I will contact the Federal Bureau of Investigation if you do not stop your behavior. They have no control over me." He accepted Mila Rose's hand and let her lead him to the onsen. The warm mist stroked his skin as he perched on the edge and sunk his toes. The temperature was comfortably warm. Yielding to the temptation, he sighed pleasantly and fell into the warmth. "This never gets old." She joined him a moment later, sighing with equal happiness. "This is the paradise Hollows like us deserve for being kinder than most humans." "If it was that easy," he remarked, shaking his head. "Enjoying the date so far, I assume." She insisted on taking him to a hot spring for their date, which was his second onsen excursion this month with a stunning dark-skinned woman. "Yup, my friend makes for terrific company." She stretched her arms before nestling against his shoulder. "Those dirty lovers on television made me very envy. I finally have someone to appreciate this with." She had come to terms with her feelings and accepted him as her partner. "Rose, your honest side is endearing. You're almost like the golden retriever I never got to have." The first half of his remarks made her grin, but the second half caused her to grimace. She struck his shoulder, revealing her teeth with wrath. "Fuck you. I am a proud lioness." Ha ha. The two of them fell into a comfortable stillness, neither eager to break it. They had been friends for a long time, occasionally disagreeing over their divergent perspectives. And right now, cozying up in a warm onsen while seeing a stunning view, the quietness between them perfectly reflected the peaceful wonder that such a scene provided. For the first time, they could enjoy the silence alone, unaffected by the presence of his other companions. Mila Rose, lost in the moment and calmed by nature's ambient sounds, raised her gaze to meet his, and her fingers tentatively turned his face toward hers. The proximity made her cheeks flush, and her heart pounded against her ribs. His gaze unconsciously caressed her seductive curves, which were securely wrapped within the towel. She looked gorgeous in the fading sunlight. Naruto, her lovely, full lips curled invitingly as she stared up at him, her eyes gradually closing. Without thinking, he leaned in and kissed her. It felt like time stood still for a brief moment, his lips pressing against her own, and then it continued as she tentatively pushed back, reciprocating the kiss with even more passion. It only lasted a few seconds, but by the time they drew apart, their gazes were fixed on one another, too enthralled by the other to look away. "Sweet," Mila Rose whispered, shifting and climbing into his lap. "Kiss me more." Mila Rose let out a faint, almost feline mewl as their lips collided gently once again. His hand went from her cheek to her side, skimming the damp surface of her skin, yet the way his palm pressed against her chest revealed his hunger. With an unsaid understanding, she let go of her towel, the soaked-through linen floating in the warm water and revealing her big, full breasts to him. He considered breaking the kiss simply to have a better look at them. A man ought to be good to his loved ones, even those shitty, good-for-nothings. She chuckled. "Yeah, correct. Then I'll make sure those good-for-nothings don't kill you. I'll protect my mate and my dignity." "That's wrong," a voice murmured within his head. Nami's voice was distant and chilly, in stark contrast to the lovely yandere he knew and loved. "You safeguard your loved ones. You are their shield. Master, you will always put your soul at risk for those you care about, even if it means bringing harm to yourself." He realized the voice's genuine identity the moment "shield" was pronounced. Only one individual was obsessed with shields. His old Zanpakuto spirit should have died. Nonetheless, she survived, chatting to him through Nami. He couldn't shake the notion that Izanami hadn't devoured Aurora. Rather, they had fused, with Nami in command. My head is spinning like hell. What just happened, partner? I feel like I said something strange. We'll discuss it later. Partner, I apologize. I didn't mean to destroy your mood. I said we will talk about it later. What happened, love? Mila Rose inquired as she leaned into his arms, cupping his cheeks. You look pale. Did I? He grabbed her face and kissed her forehead before giving her his best reassuring smile. It is completely unconnected to you. Now, let us proceed. After several hours of passion, she stretched her arms like a spoilt princess, letting forth a delightful giggle. Hug me, Skull. He grinned and let her relax into his arms, holding each other as the mist encircled them. Rose, I promise we'll have a couple of children. She kissed his face. Something tells me you feel bad about not having them right now. Here's the big deal. You don't have to. Time is the last thing we need as hollows, right? He murmured in agreement before tightly embracing her. Let's do a few rounds before we return. Cheer will be worried if we spend the entire night out. Haha. Very true. Naruto emerged from the showers the next day, dressed in his usual casual gear of a gray sweatshirt and cargo shorts. As he approached the breakfast table, he noticed Tear looking stunning in her teaching dress, which strangely mixed professionalism with her wild allure. Tear's maternal appeal was so strong that not even Nami could compete. Morning, Tear. Tear's hand gently covered his as he sat down. I'll get back by the afternoon. After that, I'm free. After 3 months of longing, the prospect of spending undisturbed time with him filled her with excitement. She even considered taking a day off, but she knew Naruto wouldn't appreciate her foregoing her responsibilities for his benefit. Mila Rose and Haribel are back to back. Partner's luck is going crazy. I wonder what catastrophes fate has planned for us. Don't jinx it. It was a jinx to counter jinx each jinx. We haven't sparred together in a while, Naruto said, giving Tear's hand a reassuring squeeze. How about we head to Kazuki's underground chamber later? It would be difficult to leave Karakura town once he had made love to Tear. Additionally, he needed to prioritize tasks and resolve Zanpakuto difficulties. Tear's eyes glittered at the prospect. Just like the old days. Yup, just like the old days. Mila Rose cleared her throat and rose up as they shared a moment, lost in each other's eyes, drawing everyone at the table's attention. Pay attention, everyone. I've got an announcement. You and husband fucked for hours yesterday, Sung Sun jokingly interrupted, hiding an evil sneer beneath her sleeves. We already know that, Rose. Their long absence yesterday, along with Mila Rose's loving looks at Naruto at the table, made it seem like their love had reached a new level. Sung Sun was overjoyed that Mila Rose accepted her feelings. She won't have to see Mila Rose go through depression again. Mila Rose turned her attention to Tear, who confirmed Sung Sun's assertion with a kind smile. Her shoulders sagged, and her expression was a priceless mix of guilt and embarrassment. Ah, I was so excited to tell everyone the news. Sung Sun raised an eyebrow. Rose, always remember that you're part of our family, and a real family knows each other very well. Yes, Apache said, I'm glad you stopped being a stubborn bitch and chose to be with Naruto. Mila Rose blinked when Apache showed her affection, which was rare. I love you both too, but I love Haribel-sama and my mate more. Chiruchi crossed her arms and tapped the floor. How about me, Rose? You didn't. You idiot, she murmured as she hugged Chiruchi from behind. You're my best friend. I adore you too. Apache sighed in frustration. Great, now she's going to be all sentimental. After the exciting conversation during breakfast, Naruto went back to his room and lay down on his bed. Nami, please take me to the inner world. We need to talk. Of course, partner. In the blink of an eye, he was on a small island with an ocean that extended on forever in every direction. Nami was in front of him, and her presence filled the strange space. So you went with the, it's lonely at the top, look here. Nami bridged the gap and gave him a surprisingly mild hug, which was different from how horny she usually is. Are you lonely? Not when you'll be with your harem and your love, Izanami. So, what did my other self say to you? Naruto let out a sigh. Aurora. She talked to me in your voice, through you. He was more okay with Aurora being there when he got over being mad at her for manipulating him. But there was one condition. Aurora lived in Nami, which made his already crazy Zanpakuto spirit much worse. The worst thing that might happen to a yandere was the dreaded arrival of a dual personality. I messed up, partner, Nami said with a nervous laugh. I thought I ate her. I should have known better. How could a Shinigami die so easily since their Zanpakuto spirit is part of their soul? He squinted his eyes and saw through her fake surprise. I get why you pushed me so hard on Unohana and Azane. You had a feeling that Aurora's ego was still around, and you were frightened that you may lose the psychic struggle against her. They were there to help me if you left, so I wouldn't lose hope. I got caught. Nami looked down and spoke very softly. Yeah, I lied. I was having memory gaps, and there were blank spots in my memories. Oddly, they only happened when you were asleep. Will you punish me for lying to you, partner? He smiled softly. You must have thought twice about completely eating Aurora because a Zanpakuto spirit is so important to a Shinigami. It would be dumb to penalize you. He would have hurt his soul if he had entirely killed Aurora because she was a part of it. How could he punish her while she was trying to help him? Her eyes got bigger and her lips curled into the trademark smile of a yandere as she clutched her own face in her hands. You don't know how happy I am that my beloved understands me. It means a lot to me. Some people would think her level of obsession was odd and scary, but he didn't. But her love, no matter how warped, was real. It was a dangerous blend of passion and devotion that he found cute in its own way. I can never guess how a woman thinks, let alone a yandere like you, he said, looking straight into her eyes. But when you started pushing ladies on me, I realized something was wrong. You said it yourself that the other women in my life didn't matter to you. You didn't care about them. My partner's love made me more open to other people. Nami did an elegant pirouette, and her laughter echoed around the deserted island like a haunting song. I'll still call Aurora my other self. She is, after all, the opposite of me. The life that will end my life. The light that shines on my shadows. I exist to protect and raise my loved one to his rightful place in heaven, while she exists to protect your loved ones. To put it simply, Aurora and Izanami are two sides of the same coin. We make each other whole. His idea that Aurora and Nami are opposites was smart. In theory, Nami was the perfect yandere for Aurora, one who wanted to protect him and the other who wanted to protect everyone else. It had everything he needed to be happy. The only bad thing that could happen if they stayed alive was that Nami might become a stranger or lose her sense of who she is. Well, what happened to the idea that Aurora was our daughter? No longer possible. Moreover, I'm not old enough to be a mother. Oops, I forgot partner loves MILFs. It's unfortunate that Aurora can't be my daughter with her living in my head and all. You live in my head, and Aurora lives in yours, he chuckled. We're one fucked up trio. Perks of being the main characters, she cooed. With a graceful gesture, she placed a hand on her chest and closed her eyes. When she opened them again, her demeanor had shifted, eyes solemn and tinged with reverence. Master, we meet again. Aurora, you're one stubborn Zanpakuto spirit to survive the wrath of a yandere. Aurora's lips curled into a soft smile. That may be truer than you imagine. I almost died when Nami devoured me, but Nami was gracious enough to preserve my essence and merge her soul with it. My specialization in restoration allowed me to reconstruct my ego. It was made possible by staying close to you, physically and spiritually. I guess the saying about Shinigami and their Zanpakuto spirit being inseparable is true. She kneeled on the ground and touched her head on the floor, performing a dageza, a gesture used to show deference to a person of higher status or express deepest apologies. In Aurora's case, it was the latter. Master, I apologize for the harm I caused, and for my despicable actions against Izanami. I never intended to mock your strength during our battle. I was swept away by the fantasy that Master would get more motivated to grow strong and overcome me. His brows arched in surprise. You sound like one of those side villains whose real goal is to help the protagonist, so the protagonist can kill the main villain. They were my inspiration to fuel your growth. I never considered you would leave me to die in a battle against Izanami. She had taken her defeat into account, but not the possibility of a Shinigami abandoning his Zanpakuto spirit. She severely underestimated his rage and his adoration for Nami. You're so weird, he said, shaking his head. Then again, you're just the reflection of my desires. It was a little dumb of me to let you die. So, we're even. She raised her head, surprise emblazoned across her features. Thanks, Master, I pledge I'll never act without your consent. You better, because I'd hate to see you die again. She gladly nodded her head and climbed to her feet. Her eyes fluttered near before she fell towards him. Instinctively, he reached out to grab her, supporting her weight as she shifted back to Nami. Partner, I'm back. Nami's eyes twinkled as she glanced at him. What did Aurora say? Before that, I have a question. Do you hate Aurora? Despite having an inkling about her feelings, he longed to hear it straight from her. I felt nothing but anger for her until I burned her soul with my fires, leaving just her essence. She may not be very mature, but her heart was in the right place, to help you. How could I hate someone who wants the same thing I do? Yes, I have forgiven her, even for putting me in a cage like a bird. His eyes crinkled with happiness. You were a bird when it happened. I was a phoenix. That's right, partner. Yandere bird. He told her quickly about Aurora's apology and commitment to Nami as she huffed and puffed at being called a bird. She held him tighter and leaned all of her weight into him. I don't feel guilty about killing my own daughter. That makes two of us. I can't wait for the day Aurora leaves me. I want to think about beloved, not her. Me too. I suppose we should not fuck when Aurora is with you. Nami pouted and sulked, but she didn't push the subject. Mom, incest is okay. Not incest between daughters. I see. Now that the problem is fixed, let's go train. Finally. Damn it. As soon as Naruto's eyes opened, he saw Yoruichi's upside-down face, which was only a few inches from his own. She patted his face with her fluffy paws, as if she were pinching his cheeks. Naruto, boy, here's your good morning greeting, she purred in a voice that was both sexy and mischievous. Not many people get this kind of luxury from me. I'm flattered. He lifted her up and put her on the bed. Do you want me to brush your fur? His hand was in front of her, as if he wanted her to let him touch her. For a little moment, she looked confused. She was so used to him rubbing her chin without asking that his polite way of doing things felt strange. Still, she kept her feelings to herself and acted like everything was normal. Harabelle washed me with shampoo yesterday, which was not needed. For my grooming needs, all I need is a little reiatsu. He had used reiatsu to clean himself while he was in Hueco Mundo, but it never felt as good as water. Anyway, I'm going to test out my new Zanpakuto skills. Want to come with? Her bright eyes shone with eagerness. Of course. Your Zanpakuto has been interesting to me since the first day. I'm curious to see what kind of crazy power you will show. I have a medical condition, however. Her tail arched upward, the tip quivering slightly. Once more, we are faced with conditions. Please proceed to articulate them clearly. I would like you to accompany me in your Shinigami form to assist in testing my Zanpakuto. I am capable of accomplishing that. With a fluid elegance unique to her, Yoruichi gracefully leapt off the bed and transitioned into her human form. She retrieved an orange ribbon from the drawer and swiftly secured her violet locks into a ponytail. With a fluid movement, she turned on her heel and lowered herself onto her hands and feet, engaging in a stretch that challenged her flexibility and balance. Her legs were positioned with one extending forward and the other reaching back, the toe just touching the ground. Her hands, with fingers extended, positioned her chest parallel to the floor. As she maintained her position, each muscle in her body contracted with strength, from the prominence of her deltoids to the sculpted contours of her calf muscles. Her athletic form surpassed that of Sung Sun, even though Yoruichi had not trained for nearly a century. In her stretching position, her vulva and small anal area were fully visible. However, she remained untroubled, feeling no embarrassment in being completely undressed in his presence. It is consistently gratifying to experience this transformation each time. We must ensure that her actions do not go unaddressed. In reaction to Nami's remarks, he shook his head, his brows knitting together. The more he engaged with Yoruichi's playful teasing, the less she viewed him with any degree of seriousness. In dealing with an individual such as Yoruichi, the most effective strategies were to either assert dominance through sheer strength or to remain unresponsive to their playful provocations. He opted for the latter approach, as he considered the notion of imposing himself on women to be utterly distasteful. Yoruichi adjusted her stance, causing a subtle movement of muscle across her abdomen. As he had anticipated, she discreetly observed him from the periphery of her vision, attempting to gauge his response. In response to his indifference, she let out a disappointed sigh before promptly rising to her feet. The primary objective of performing the nude stretches was to engage his interest and elicit some typical playful comments. She did not succeed in her task. If he's not upset with me, then it indicates, his minimal acknowledgement of her presence, coupled with a distant and detached expression, indicated a decline in his interest in her. His indifference was completely warranted, as she had observed him effortlessly charm numerous attractive women, leaving her unsure about meeting his gaze with her presence. It is preferable this way. I don't believe I am suited for this situation. Despite her efforts to find solace, she couldn't dispel the conflicting emotions of pride and melancholy that surged within her. She approached Naruto's closet, her hand firmly grasping the doorknob before she confidently swung it open. You possess a closet filled with garments despite not residing here. Sung-sun coordinated all the details. She has a unique sense of style. She is performing the responsibilities expected of a good housewife, Yoruichi remarked as she closed the closet with a firm motion. None of these options will be suitable for me. Please feel free to reach out to Sung-sun. You both share a similar height, with only a few centimeters of difference. It appears I have no alternative. As Yoruichi sought to borrow clothing from Sung-sun, he occupied his time by conversing with the yandere residing in his thoughts. He carefully considered the advantages and disadvantages of training in Urahara's basement versus the Vizard's base alongside Nami. The idea of revealing his Zanpakuto to Kazuki caused him unease. He was aware that the clever scientist would likely devise strategies to counteract his shield during his leisure time. However, you requested Yoruichi to evaluate your Zanpakuto. She is unlikely to disclose it if I inquire. Although she exhibited a laid-back demeanor, her most commendable trait was her unwavering loyalty. Indeed, the Vizard base appears to be our most viable option. I will request Lisa to distribute the information to everyone. She will not decline her future husband. Simply assure her of a collection of new erotica to secure her agreement. I will compose a narrative centered around the Hollow Prince and an exiled Shinigami vice-captain. The parallels between us and your characters are merely coincidental, correct? Is that correct? Is that correct? While my work draws inspiration from reality, it remains entirely fictional. He called Lisa's contact on the landline, the static serving as a reminder that he possessed what could be regarded as a relic in his era. She complied with his request without seeking anything in return. Considering the sacrifice he was making for the Soul Society, she likely viewed this as an opportunity to contribute in some manner. Yoruichi arrived shortly thereafter and knocked on the door. Let us proceed, Naruto. I am prepared. As the door opened, Yoruichi was revealed. She was positioned with one knee on the floor, her hand elevated in a playful salute. The appearance of her was striking. She donned a red military uniform adorned with golden tassels and accents, complemented by white trousers neatly tucked into black knee-high boots. He promptly identified the appearance as being influenced by 19th-century British redcoats. She leaned in and extended her hand, mirroring the traditional gesture of requesting a lady's hand to bring it to her lips for a kiss. Let us take our leave, Your Highness. Soi Fan would have experienced a nosebleed and subsequently fainted from sheer joy merely by catching a glimpse of her cherished Yoruichi in this attire. Yoruichi displayed remarkable authority and confidence that many women would find appealing. Only the divine understood the impact it would have on the fervent Soi Fan. He offered a smile and gently placed his hand over hers. I feel quite regal, however. She smiled lightly and stood up, maintaining her grip on his hand. What are your thoughts on my new outfit? I found it to be quite impressive. Similar to her nudity, her vintage clothing was merely a tactic to provoke a response from Naruto. Her success in achieving her goal was evident in his smile and the admiration reflected in his eyes. His response provided her with a fresh viewpoint on his preferences. He enjoys receiving special treatment. Naruto acknowledged with a nod. It appears quite elegant, but I am curious as to why my wife has chosen to store it in her wardrobe. Sung Sun's fashion sense is exceptional. Recognizing the appeal of cosplaying, she likely understood how it could enhance your experience. Such a charming little individual. I am uncertain. Yoruichi smiled and guided him down the stairs by his hand. Please accompany me, Your Highness. I will ensure your safe escort. Lisa Yadomaru, a maid with a sharp wit that contrasted her role, folded her arms over her chest. Her eyes sparkled with a playful glint as they focused on Naruto and Yoruichi, the latter dressed in a sharp red military uniform. You transformed her into a woman of refinement. As anticipated from the individual who almost captured my heart. He let out a light laugh. It appears you have not yet moved past that date. As though it could slip my mind. Your actions have significantly tarnished my reputation. I am unable to meet the gaze of my 73 suitors. What is that number excluding the individuals in your imagination, Maid-chan? Lisa redirected her attention. None. Consolidate it into a single entity. He offered his hand. You will be the mother of my child. In a decisive manner, Lisa swiftly removed his hand from her presence. To propose to me while being involved with multiple partners demonstrates a remarkable level of audacity. Yoruichi observed them with a piercing gaze. Soul Society, Living World, or Hueco Mundo. Is there a location where your admirers are not present? There is one available, the Soul King Palace. The amiable and skilled chef Kiryu Hakafuna or the dignified yet whimsical weaver Senjumaru Shutara. Select your preference, partner. I will consider that if I successfully navigate my initial meeting with the Royal Guards. Considering that the Royal Guards were tasked with the challenging responsibility of safeguarding the remains of a deity, it is reasonable to assume they possessed a deep understanding of the complexities surrounding the essence of the Soul King. This, regrettably, allowed them to discern Naruto's unusual origins. Ikibe, the most ancient of the royal guards, would undoubtedly recognize his true nature. Despite Naruto's impressive capabilities in the present timeline, confronting the royal guards would be an unwise endeavor. His optimal opportunity resided in mastering the shield of his Zanpakuto, diligently striving to attain the Bankai release. Furthermore, there existed the unexploited potential of his full Resurrection, a form that became available following Nami's elevation to Vastolord status. Fortunately, Ikibe adhered to a principle of non-interference with the happenings of the Soul Society, which meant he would not be encountering the royal guards in the near future. It is possible that Etsu is aware of my presence through his Zanpakuto sense. I am aware. He may be perplexed by your presence. Returning to the present moment, he noticed Yoruichi and Lisa observing him, their expressions marked by confusion. Yoruichi placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. Minimize monologues with your Zanpakuto while engaged in tasks. Your expression appears somewhat unfocused, giving off a light-hearted impression. The occurrence of such discussions will diminish as your connection strengthens. Lisa grasped the hilt of her Zanpakuto with precision. Since my own hollowification, my Haguro Tonbo has been largely uncommunicative. However, when it is crucial, they offer their support to me promptly. Naruto restrained the response that lingered at the edge of his words. Lisa and the other Vizards possessed significant untapped potential. They had the capacity to evolve beyond merely being Shinigami with hollow traits. Kanami Tosen demonstrated the complete capabilities of the Vizard by integrating his inner hollow with his Zanpakuto spirit, resulting in a transformation into a Resurrection. Tosen's Resurrection elevated his current Zanpakuto abilities significantly. She should accept her inner hollow, rather than reject it as if it were a monster. The focus is on establishing a connection between the Zanpakuto spirit and the inner hollow. It's not that straightforward, Chief. Her hollow does not possess sentience in the same manner as an Ijuka's. Introducing it to her Zanpakuto spirit presents a considerable risk. It is through risk that we evolve and exceed the limitations set by the world. Indeed. Then there is me, who does not utilize a Zanpakuto. Yoruichi chuckled softly. I perform more effectively using my physical abilities. He lifted an eyebrow in curiosity. How did you become the captain of the second squad? With a smile, she gently nudged his waist with her elbow. I possess exceptional skills as an assassin, complemented by my advanced expertise in stealth. Lisa checked her wristwatch before proceeding to open the door. Naruto, we must not waste any time. Shinji and the others are expected to return in the afternoon. Are you confident they will not return earlier? I encourage them to step outside and embrace life for a change. Lisa cast him a disapproving glance. It is likely that they will remain out late. Are you questioning my trustworthiness? His gaze locked onto hers, firm and resolute. I have as much confidence in you as I would in a cat supervising a mouse. Lisa's eyes widened, her mouth preparing to deliver what was sure to be a sharp response. Before the words could be spoken, Naruto interjected, the cat I am referring to is Yoruichi, who does not consume rats. I have complete confidence in you, just as I do in Yoruichi, and I hold this girl in the highest regard. A subtle smile appeared at the corners of Lisa's mouth. I understand, or else I wouldn't be included in your inner circle. Yoruichi, however, stepped back, her eyes widening slightly to reveal her surprise. His words resonated in her mind, more profound than she had anticipated, and they infused her chest with an unexpected warmth. She composed herself before her unusual reaction could attract notice. Yadomaru is correct. We must not squander time, my prince. In the expansive underground chamber, Naruto positioned his Zanpakuto in front of him. Despite containing a Vasto Lord-class entity, the weapon maintained a weight comparable to that of a standard katana. He gradually unsheathed the katana, and as it reached the midpoint, he murmured, "Weave, Shinku no Aurora." As the incantation dissipated into the atmosphere, his Reiatsu surged forth. An intense whirlwind of energy that gathered particles of dust, forming an unplanned cyclone around him. Delicate, otherworldly flames emerged from the sheath, encircling the blade with a graceful embrace. Naruto methodically unsheathed his katana, the blade ignited with a fierce flame. He adjusted the heated blade and directed it towards his own chest before he thrust the flaming sword inward, penetrating the essence of his being. A powerful surge of spiritual energy coursed through him, igniting a fire within. His eyes became brilliantly luminous. In a swift and dynamic motion, the flames separated, forming two radiant blades that floated gracefully in the air alongside him. Lisa shielded her eyes, examining the view through the spaces between her fingers. Her Reiatsu was positioned between that of a vice captain and captain class. However, in comparison to Naruto's formidable power, she appeared as a flickering candle against the sun's intense brilliance. At that moment, she felt no fear, as the Reiatsu conveyed no intention to cause her harm. "My," Yoruichi remarked softly, her lips parting slightly in an unconscious gesture. "I was surprised by his significant growth. He is quite an intimidating individual." Despite the display, his Shikai consists of merely two unusual floating blades. Yadomaru, was it never conveyed to you that one should not assess a Zanpakuto based solely on its appearance? Please reserve your insights for a more appropriate audience, cat lady. Disregarding their peripheral remarks, Naruto signaled with a wave of his hand. The hovering blades reacted with precision, moving around him in a meticulously coordinated manner, aligning seamlessly with his mental directives and physical actions. Yoruichi, please assume your Shunko form. Lisa, please activate your Bankai. Kindly provide your utmost effort. Yoruichi chuckled. You will extend your apologies to Sung-sun for the actions I am about to take. She extended her hand to the side and formed a fist. Her Reiatsu intensified, manifesting a layer of white energy enveloping her. Her ponytail swayed gracefully in the wind, creating a striking contrast to the white lightning that crackled and snaked around her. The Kido surrounding her intensified progressively until, crackle, the pressure peaked, resulting in arcs of lightning bursting forth. Her sleeves were torn, as was the material draping her back. Sung-sun's dress sustained significant damage. Yoruichi smiled, directing her attention towards Lisa. Do not restrain yourself. This individual is capable of handling both of us. It is often stated that excessive confidence can lead to downfall. Lisa adjusted her glasses and drew her zanpakuto with precision. For you, the journey will culminate in a challenging encounter with two elegant Oni-san. She forcefully inserted the hilt of her zanpakuto into the mouth of its scabbard before skillfully twirling it over her head with both hands. As the blade spun, her visored mask appeared, a diamond-shaped white mask featuring a cross-shaped opening in place of a mouth and eye slits. Execute, Haguro Tonbo. With the activation of her Shikai, the blade transformed into an elongated polearm, featuring a spearhead that resembled the shape of a monk's spade. Lisa, the former vice captain possessing all the qualifications of a captain, directed her weapon at Naruto. My esteemed counterpart, brace yourself for an intense confrontation. The former Shinigami ladies were not ones to waste time. Yoruichi executed her lightning-fast shunpo, bridging the gap between herself and Naruto in an instant that was nearly undetectable. She executed a kick towards him, her leg moving in a swift arc that sliced through the air with a powerful force, electric arcs trailing behind her heel. Simultaneously, Lisa's imposing polearm struck down towards his head with the precision of a well-executed executioner's blade. Naruto stood resolute, his arms confidently folded across his chest. The gleaming blades positioned beside him transformed, converging into robust shields that appeared precisely when needed. Electrical currents surged from Yoruichi's extended leg, a powerful storm of lightning striking against his shield. Sparks ignited. Lisa's polearm struck the second shield with a resounding impact, her blade recoiling as though it had encountered an impenetrable barrier. Undeterred by the presence of a shield, Yoruichi adjusted her stance and executed a series of precise kicks and punches, each movement enhanced by brilliant white lightning. Her shunko combined the strength of Kido spells with combat techniques to create a formidable technique, the highest level of offense a Shinigami could demonstrate with their physical abilities. However, each intense impact appeared to dissipate upon contact with the shield. Lisa, exhibiting remarkable determination, maneuvered her polearm with precision, rotating it to reveal the opposite end. It was equipped with a compact yet exceptionally heavy ball intended for crushing purposes. With a determined shout, she forcefully struck it against the shield. The shield remained steadfast. It would have been unusual if it hadn't. These very shields had previously defended against Naruto's own formidable strength. He possessed greater raw spiritual power than Baragon. Yoruichi and Lisa demonstrated considerable strength, yet they remained comparable to a Vasto Lord in terms of power. A smile appeared on Yoruichi's face, her eyes shining with enthusiasm rather than irritation. She appreciated the relaxation of her muscles against the shield. Please accept this. In contrast, Lisa's frown reflected the frustration that one might experience when confronted with an unyielding barrier. Although she had not yet revealed her Bankai, she felt that it might still fall short. Her Bankai enhanced her combat abilities, rather than increasing her overall destructive capacity. She needed an immense amount of destructive force to penetrate his shield. Launching from the sturdy shield, she rebounded off the ceiling, executing a mid-air flip to descend with precision. Defeat him. Yoruichi expressed her enthusiasm while swiftly maneuvering away from the designated zone. With an impact reminiscent of a small meteor, Lisa's zanpakuto struck again, producing a resonant clang so powerful it seemed to resonate through their very bones like a gong. Consequently, a radial shockwave propagated through the underground chamber. Naruto deftly flicked his wrist, causing the shields to dissipate and return to the blades from which they originated. It seems you put in a significant effort. Lisa, breathing heavily, directed a cold stare at him through the openings of her fading hollow mask. Her zanpakuto reverted to its original form, and she sheathed it with a precise motion. That shield is quite ineffective. Yoruichi deactivated her shunko, allowing her electrical aura to gradually fade away. Your hollow abilities are far from being merely defensive. What is the reason for possessing a support-type zanpakuto? Zanpakuto represent the embodiment of a Shinigami's aspirations, Lisa stated. One might consider him a coward who conceals himself behind his shield, that is, if one were not fully informed. It required remarkable bravery to assume the role of a Shinigami within the Gotei 13 while simultaneously being a hollow, the very entities that Shinigami were tasked with purifying. The purpose of his shield is to provide protection, Yoruichi stated. I am seeking clarification regarding the quantity of shields. You have multiple romantic partners. 2 shields cannot protect so many hearts. He chuckled at her doubts and snapped his fingers. One of his fingers ignited, disintegrated, and transformed into a third blade. These energy swords play a significant role in our existence. It is essential to assign them suitable names. Hano no Damyaku, flame artery, will be referred to as Enmyaku for brevity. Yoruichi appeared genuinely interested. Making sacrifices for your body, that's a wise decision. Made mistakes, yet demonstrated intelligence. Lisa adjusted her glasses with thoughtful precision. Genuine love is characterized by selflessness. One must be ready to commit fully to their endeavors. In this instance, your own body. If by my life or death I can protect someone, I will, he whispered, echoing a quote from The Lord of the Rings that aligned perfectly with the theme of his Zanpakuto. The greater my desire to safeguard, the higher the cost I will incur. The Enmyaku moves with such speed that it could easily be mistaken for Sonido. One individual has the capability to safeguard several people even when faced with attacks occurring at varying intervals. The true value of my Shikai lies in my expertise in timing and decision-making. As he concentrated, one Enmyaku disintegrated and reformed on his finger. The Shikai fundamentally altered his entire body from the inside out, enabling him to convert parts of his body into Enmyaku, which could subsequently be shaped into shields or muskets. The options are quite restricted. That is simply the Zanpakuto of Shinigami as a whole. Each Zanpakuto possessed significant power, yet their abilities were constrained in their functionality. The Resurrection functioned in contrast by merging with their host, enabling complete control over its power. The Resurrection possessed a singular limitation: they did not have the capacity to evolve in tandem with their host as Zanpakuto do. None of the regulations were applicable to him in the presence of Aurora and Nami. As he extended his hand, the Enmyakus gracefully landed in his grasp. He regarded Lisa, the visored who was able to circumvent the regulations set for conventional Shinigami. Maid-chan, please focus on the task I am about to undertake. With a quick flick of his wrist, Naruto merged the Enmyakus into one big blade and drove it deep into the center of his chest. The flames danced under his skin, weaving through him before coming together in the sword. The blade grew longer, nearly matching the length of Lisa's Shikai. Nami, fire up the engine, sure thing, partner. The flame changed color, now glowing with a dark, sinister red that felt like it was tapping into Nami's deep-seated aggression. The energy washed over him, filling his mind with the intense thrill of chaos. If he didn't have strong willpower, he probably would have lost his mind. It was pretty obvious when he blended in with her flames. Embrace the chaos and let it guide you. I guess it's not shocking that you're always so aggressive. Just like with Aurora's Shikai, the flames broke away and transformed into 2 distinct Enmyakus. But these had a threatening deep red color. Lisa crossed her arms and shot a sharp look with her eyes. It's really unsettling to see a friend do something like that. Yoruichi let out a laugh. Those blades seem a bit different. I'd say they probably have some offensive powers now. Exactly, he said, watching the Enmyakus spin around him before finally resting in his hands as curved daggers. Every hilt had a deep red gem, gently glowing with a soft pulse. Wow, they seem a bit weak. In a bold move, flames shot out from each dagger, scorching the ground beneath them. The brief contact left behind 2 long grooves in the ground, each more than a meter deep. The only way to handle my flames is to either dodge them or counter with some serious Reiatsu. He figured Nami would come through, just like always. When you're in a fight and everyone's using those fancy movement techniques, it's tough to land hits consistently, especially with the daggers being so short range. Yoruichi stared in disbelief at the chaos caused by his flames. Your Zanpakuto really has a lot of potential. One downside is that it takes a while to switch forms. Lisa took a few steps back until she was more than 100 meters away from him. Is this what you wanted me to check out? He chuckled at her careful, hesitant approach to avoid getting hurt. Have you heard about how I changed my Zanpakuto? Combining it with another fire. What's the deal with having two different flames to begin with? Yoruichi and Lisa were both intrigued, as the raging flames of his Shikai brought back memories of their captain commander. But they hadn't experienced the supportive vibe of his other flames just yet. That flame is part of my hollow side, my resurrection, if you catch my drift, he said, taking a moment for effect. I get that you're scared of your inner hollow, and honestly, that's understandable. Your ability to turn it into a weapon really highlights your strong willpower. Lisa was still feeling a bit doubtful. What do you mean? He tossed the daggers up into the air, watching them transform back into the Enmyaku form. I get it, but holding back is really slowing you down. If you're looking to expand beyond the boundaries of Shinigami and hollows, allow your inner hollow to evolve. Lisa's eyes went wide, taken aback by his boldness in suggesting something like that. For every visor, their inner hollows felt like chains, holding them back from going back to their roles in the Gote 13. They really couldn't stand the nasty spirits hanging out in their inner worlds. You can take my advice or leave it, up to you. He shrugged. So, Yoruichi, you up for another round? Yoruichi's eyes darted from a clearly uneasy Lisa to him, a playful grin spreading across her face. I'm up for some fun. Alright, I'm going to use my resurrection now. Stay tuned for more. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. I'm thrilled you watched the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe for even more exciting content coming your way soon.